Hello, in this short video review of Chapter 2, Contingency Framework for Strategic Sport Marketing of the Shank textbook. We look at strategic sport marketing. We ended Chapter 1 with this idea of strategy. We began thinking about how do we combine strategy. We understand it in terms of a sporting event, doing a game plan and designing different ways that we're going to be able to best put ourselves in position for success during an athletic contest. We look at the same ideas in a more business component. Strategic sport marketing definition: the foundation of any effective sport organization is a sound yet flexible strategic framework. We want to be flexible. We want to look at and have the ability to change our plan depending on different inputs. The process should be systematic and well organized, but must readily adaptable to changes in the environment, knowing that unexpected events always happens. There's always going to be an upturn or a downturn in the economy. Gas prices are always going to go up. Gas prices are always going to go down. There's always going to be some military conflict. There's always going to be political events and elections and changes. There's always going to be something. We don't know what it is. We need to think about what those things might be and best predict how we're going to respond when possible. Sport marketers need to prepare for either positive or negative changes in the environment. These will be out of our control, like the economy, like unemployment rates, like gasoline prices, but we must anticipate, acknowledge, and manage them. The quicker and faster we adjust to these different contingencies in the marketplace, the better our organization will be and may result in our organization being very successful and others being put out of business. A contingency framework. A contingency means we are working in an environment that other groups have impact on us, influence us. We operate in an unpredictable and changing environment. We are not in isolation. We do not make our decisions whether to raise prices or to target an audience or to have a game on a certain day or whatever sport component we are doing. We don't operate solely in what we're doing. We have governmental oversight. We have competitors. We have fans. We have employees. We have many different groups that will influence those decisions. When we look at internal contingencies. Internal, we look at, they are controllable. There are things that are within our organization. There are things that our organization controls that does not affect anyone else. Our vision, our mission, our goals and marketing objectives, our culture, our products, our distribution, things that are our organization specific. We have external influences. These are uncontrollable. What our competition does, what legal and political influences there are, demographics, whether they're changing or whether they're revising or how they're moving over time, technology changes, culture, physical environment, economy. Those are things that affect the entire industry of our competition and ourselves. So we look at internal contingencies first, our vision, our roadmap. What business are we in? What do we want to serve? When we look at different sporting events, maybe we'll gloss it up and say we want to compete for championships, which most do. Intercollegiate sport athletics normally say betterment of the student athlete and to graduate and complete the education of student athletes. For a YWCA, it may be how we impact the lives of children and women in a community. We may look at education. We may look at access. We may look at really internally for a lot of our sport, creating revenue and profit. Nike, Adidas, some sporting goods manufacturers are designed that way. Our mission, what are we doing right now? How are we serving our current customers? How do we meet those needs? So vision and mission are similar, but they are different. Vision is more a long-term roadmap. Mission is what are we doing now? What's our situation? What condition are we in as it moves towards where we're going? Goals are undefined and vague. We want to grow revenue. We want to provide educational opportunities for youth. We want to provide an area for communal recreation. Goals are vague and undefined. What we're really going to focus on this semester are SMART objectives. SMART objectives are specific, measurable, attainable, realistic, and time-bound. When we say SMART objectives, we're talking about one statement. For example, increase ticket sales by 5% over the next year. That is specific. We're going to increase ticket sales by 5%. It's giving an exact number. Is it measurable? Sure. We know how many tickets were last year. We can count how many tickets sold this year, and we know the difference. Is it attainable? When we look at attainable, we probably need some more information. Is our capacity, did we sell at 67% capacity last year, thereby showing that we have 33% unsold percentage of tickets for this year? Can we increase it by 5%? Sounds attainable. Can we attain a 5% increase if we sold out every single game last year? Maybe not. Is it realistic? Is our SMART objective we want to sell 1 million more pairs of shoes this year than last year? If we're Nike, that may be realistic. If we're a brand new shoe manufacturer, Dodds sneakers, it's probably not realistic to do 1 million in 1 year. So when we look certainly at attainable and realistic, we probably want to look at more contextually what this SMART objective is. And then time bound. When are we going to have this measurement? Over the next year, over the next season, by December 31st, by 4 years from now? So we want it specific, measurable, attainable, realistic, time bound. One statement. That way, every single person in our organization, every single person on our team knows exactly what is expected of them. For comparison, if you're hired as a director of ticket sales for a minor league baseball team and you're told during your interview, we're going to evaluate you next year for your promotion, we want you to increase tickets. Okay, great. You do the next season. You went from maybe an average of 5,652 fans per game to 5,694 fans per game. You're feeling pretty good about yourself. You did increase it. You go to your meeting. Maybe your boss had 7,000 in mind. And not only do you not get promoted, maybe you get relieved of your duties. So a SMART objective eliminates that. You know exactly what, when, and where, and how much you're going to be measured upon. Goals and objectives must be evaluated specifically. Are they suitable with your organization? Do they follow your vision and mission? For example, a lot of organizations, and my wife's master's program did this, you can go to some stadiums and volunteer. I know the sport management company can go to the Empire State Marathon and volunteer and receive money for their hours. We did this in Milwaukee, the Milwaukee Brewers games, where we went and worked a concession stand. In exchange for pay for us, we collect money for a nonprofit. So knowing that, could the Boys and Girls Club volunteer their time at a Milwaukee Brewers game concession stand? Certainly. Would it be appropriate if they did it for a beer stand? It may not be suitable. The connection between Boys and Girls Clubs and alcohol may be a negative connotation to it, that it may not be suitable for their goals and objectives. Is our goal and objective acceptable? Do we have buy-in from the top and from the bottom? Meaning, do we have support from the executives? The executives are going to need to give us human resources, financial resources, the ability to achieve these goals. Do we have buy-in from the bottom? If we're looking at increasing ticket sales, and part of our research shows that people don't come to many games because they don't feel like they're valued or the games aren't fun. So part of what we want to do is increase the serviceability and have our ushers welcome people. We want people to be friendlier. We want to hand out tickets and money and change when people buy merchandise with a smile, count it out to them. Whatever we want to do actually directs the job of somebody else. If we don't have buy-in from those people, they're not going to do the job that we want them to. Thereby, we're not going to meet our objectives. Is it flexible? Do we have the ability to change it? Maybe our plan shows that we're going to go after women 25 to 40, and we're going to advertise our product on say a financial news network, and then through our research, or we find out that we're not getting the target from that media outlet. We need the ability to pull that money and put it somewhere else that meets that target audience, as opposed to saying, you know what, we have a rigid plan, we are locked in, so that we're not going to get the best effective use of that money. Is the goal and objective motivating? Is it something that people can reach and attain? Is that 5% of ticket sales over the next year that we looked at the SMART objective in the previous slide? Is that reachable? Is it challenging? Is it enough to get people to work hard? But it's also something that they can achieve, thereby developing intrinsic and hopefully some extrinsic rewards with some bonus money. Do they understand the SMART objective? Is it clear and simple? Do they participate? Do they have input in it? For example, Disney, which is the gold standard of customer service. They have a marketing standard where people are going to be greeted at different times with a friendly smile and a welcoming language. But the groups, no matter where you are, especially in Magic Kingdom, they can define how they meet that standard by themselves. For example, if you're in the area with the Old West near Woody and the rides there, they can come up and say howdy, or how you doing, partner? Something similar and effective to that area, which would not be appropriate in the area that has colonial America or Tomorrowland with the futuristic aspect. They can define how they meet those standards. From a marketing perspective, if the standards being met, I'm happy with that. I want people to be greeted. I want them to have a great time. But I want to make sure that the people conducting that and delivering that message, they're involved so that they can deliver the best message that they feel comfortable with. And are these objectives, are they congruent to our organizational objective? Maybe we look at a goal and we want to increase sales of our sneakers, and we're looking at the Chinese market and say that would be absolutely fantastic. However, we may not have any distribution in China at this point. So it may not be fitting with our organizational direction. We look at our organizational culture, an internal contingency. We can create this. We can manage this. We look at the identity and preferred behaviors of our organization. What are the standards? We look at cliches like work hard and play hard, and they become a cliche, so they're really not have any meaning anymore. When I worked at GMR, we focused on our traditions. We focused on our culture to be striving to be better than what we were the day before. And the day before, we were one of the top, if not the top, sport marketing agencies in the country. For example, we talk about how we want people to accomplish things, and our expectations are, you are going to do your job. You are going to do your job. You're going to do your job. We had an event where we created a concert by Metallica at the North Pole. We actually went into the Arctic Circle, brought in 1,000 fans to watch the concert, brought in all the power, brought in all the staging, the lighting, everything, and the band, and had a concert inside the North Pole, inside the Arctic Circle, where we're hundreds of miles from anything. So that's our standard. That's our story. That's our culture. So when people tell us, or they'd be able to say, I wasn't able to do this, or I'm having a difficult time doing this, we always look at the posters that show the concert at the North Pole. That's what we did. That's our expectation. Do we emphasize marketing or sales? Nike certainly does that. They've built that. Everything they do goes towards how can they sell better. Are there products at the top? Probably not. You can get better shoes, better equipment from other manufacturers, but their focus is on marketing. Do we want to emphasize on spectator enjoyment? Do we want to emphasize participation? What is our culture? And that should help lead all of our marketing decisions. We look at external contingencies. We look at things that happen to the environment, how they affect us, and how we can adjust to these external contingencies. External, we cannot control these. If you think of a SWOT analysis, internal are those strengths and weaknesses. External are those opportunities and threats. External, we can look at competition. Primarily, we'd look at it as a threat, but depending on what our competition does, we may be able to analyze it for specific opportunities. Our competition, what are they doing? Do they have similar products and services? Are they a direct competitor to us? Are they an indirect competitor to us? Here in town, you can either go to a football game or go watch a game at a bar, or you can go to a movie, or you can go work. You can participate yourself. We have a lot of different entertainment options that affect this indirect market. So we look at competition, external. We can't control what they do, but we want to analyze what they do for threats and opportunities. New technology. When there's a new technology, it certainly affects everyone within the industry. How social media has really changed a lot of communication pieces. At this point, it really could be argued it hasn't done much in terms of generating revenue or on the sales side of it. Certainly on the awareness and communication side it does, but we need to really focus on not saying social media is going to cure everything. We need to look at it as a tool and use it the best way possible. Blogs, ticketing certainly has been a huge change in technology. 20 years ago, you'd have to go to the stadium to buy a ticket. If you ever watched Dazed and Confused, at the end, they drive to Houston to go to get tickets for an Aerosmith concert. Then you could move to Ticketmaster, would have outlets at record stores and at malls. You'd still have to physically go to those places, but you could have more than one, just the box office. Now you have 100 locations within a city or a marketplace. Then they went to telephones. So you can go on the telephone. Now everyone that had a telephone would be able to do it. And it was pre-cell phone, so there weren't a whole lot, but we increased from hundreds to maybe thousands. Now we look at online. You can go with a computer and get it. You have apps to buy it. So now we look at ticketing and technology, and it's made it much easier for consumers and fans to buy tickets to our location. Makes it much easier for them to watch our games. Makes it much easier for in-stadium sales. We can punch up through different applications and buy hot dogs. And if we sit in a certain area, we can get them delivered to us. Maybe if we're looking to use technology and we want to sell more merchandise or more concessions, we use some of this technology and have people order it and they can walk up and pay for it. Maybe we don't deliver it in some aspects, but they can go to a special spot on our hot dog stand and buy it because it's waiting there for them. Anything that we can do to minimize those costs, satisfaction equals benefits minus costs, anything we can do that is going to increase sales. Satisfaction, buying more hot dogs. We need the benefits of it. We like the hot dogs. We like to eat. Costs associated with that. Every time we go and we wait in line, we're missing the game. How can technology decrease that cost? Cultural and social events. Different sports in different areas have different values. Some sports stress individualism. Golf, running. Even though they're team events and we count points as a team, at its core, it's an individual sport. Some sport foster group identities. They're more of your team where everyone is involved at the same time. Soccer, baseball, football, some things like that that affirm what's desired, our cultural values. Certainly in New York, we look at cultural values of the Native Americans and the Onondaga Nation and how closely they hold lacrosse or the Creators game, how valuable and important that is to the cultural identity of their persons. We look at different places around the country. If you looked at, West Texas or Pittsburgh, you see the influence of football and high school football. Alabama, you look at college football. In some areas, you look at professional. So depending on where we are in our social values and our trends, we look at how our sport choices are. Southern California, surfing. Florida, you can go fishing. Different ideas and different cultural aspects. Upper Midwest, curling. Europe, skiing. Soccer in Brazil. They're cultural values held by our sport. Our physical environment, again, external. We don't control it. However, the region of our country dictates our sports. Sometimes it becomes cultural. Sometimes due to mountains, we do more skiing, or close to the shore, we can do surfing, and we can do fishing. In down south, because the weather is nicer, we can do golf. We can do whitewater rafting where the rapids are. So we look at the physical environment that dictates the type of sports. More people in the north play hockey because of the physical environment, because the ponds and lakes and rivers freeze. You're able to play and participate that in sport. In the south, you don't get that unless it's man-made, so your indoctrination in the sport is much different. We look at political, legal, and regulatory aspects. How does state, federal laws, how does Title IX affect what we do at a college sport aspect? How does common law, how do state laws affect what we're doing? I refer to a Heyman versus Pettit case here, where a minor league baseball team had a promotion where if you catch a foul ball and you turn it in, you get free tickets. They allowed people outside the stadium to collect foul balls. And there was a situation where a ball was hit, a boy ran out on the street and got hit by a car, causing significant injury to him. Ultimately, the team was deemed not liable for the injury because the accident occurred on a public area. However, if you look at it in terms of being risk managers, perhaps that promotion is not the best to allow our fans to be running around and exposed to potentially dangerous situations. League bylaws, league constitutions. If you are a state actor and you work at a public governmental university, you need to follow different guarantees than a private university would be. Demographics, changing the market, changing population trends. We're getting older. Our populations are moving south and west. However, as our population is moving older, as those baby boomers are retiring, we're also looking at a very active audience these days. Previous generations, when a person retired, they may be less inclined to do different things. We see people now participating in golf and traveling and being active. How do we take advantage of that with our sport organizations? How do we see different shifts in ethnic groups, and how we can see that different populations are rising in different areas? Muslim areas outside of Dearborn, Michigan. There's a huge Hmong population outside of Gwinnett County, Georgia. So knowing and seeing different demographics, we need to appreciate and begin marketing towards them. We have to realize that these ethnic groups are very different, that just because they may speak Spanish, there is a difference between a Dominican in New York, a Cuban in Miami, and a Mexican descent in Southwest America. Common language, yes. Very different cultural aspects, cultural values and connections. We need to analyze that and make our marketing plans towards that. Our economy, external. We don't have a control over the economy. We want to focus on discretionary income, the income that people have available after they pay taxes, put a roof over their head, and buy food. What can we do in order to tap into that? Obviously, if we're in a healthy economy, there's more discretionary income. People may be more inclined to participate in our sport activity. The economy goes bad. Most often, people are doing less. I say most often because sometimes the economy goes down and more participatory sports happen. Instead of buying season tickets to a football team, people may run more. If there's high unemployment, people have more time because they're not working to go skiing, to go to a gymnasium and work out at a fitness center, to play in a basketball league. So if we're in those sport organizations, we need to recognize these changes and try to make it affordable and convenient for these people. If we're looking at a fitness center or a ski resort and we see an older population that has a limited income, maybe we find a ticket price that fits their budget and fits their ability. If we look at a person who's retired, probably doesn't want to go working out very often, spending a lot of money. Certainly if you work out at that facility, you don't want it to be clogged up with a lot of people. And we look at the very busy times of between 5 and 8 before work, 11 and 2 during lunch, and between 5 and 8 after work. Those are really busy. Maybe we look at a high retiree population and we can say, you know what, for a discounted cost, you can come and use our facility between 9 and 10 in the morning and between 2 and 5 in the afternoon and on weekends, where A, we're finding brand new revenue, B, we're going after a brand new audience that wants to be active, and C, it's not influencing or changing the behavior of our other people in our fitness facility. How can we look at that both in terms of age or on this slide economy to offer different packages? Environmental scanning, really the crux of this idea of strategic aspect. We want to set up a protocol where we are always gathering information. We're always looking at trends. We don't set our marketing plans in January for an entire year. That's our plan. That's all we're going to do. We want to continually look at these different inputs, whether they're internal or external, our strengths and weaknesses internal, our opportunities and threats external, see what they're doing so that we can guarantee we are effectively and efficiently reaching the best target audience that we could be. Here's an example of how we assess the internal external contingencies, your standard strengths and weaknesses, opportunities and threats. Again, strengths and weaknesses, internal, controllable, opportunities and threats, external, not controllable. We can look at those opportunities and threats. We can look at those external contingencies through a pest analysis, political, legal, economic factors, sociocultural, and technological factors, places that we need to do those scans to find out that information in order to move into that opportunities and threats. So if you're looking at a SWOT analysis and a pest analysis, you may want to do the pest analysis first because they're going to give you information on that opportunities and threats area. We look at the contingency framework, the strategy ideas. We look at the internal contingencies on the right, your vision, your mission, your goals, your objectives, your strategy, your culture. Those are things we can control. We look at the external contingencies on the left, competition, legal, demographics, technology, cultural, environment, economy, things we can't control, opportunities and threats. And we look at how they fit into our planning stage. They'll fit in every section that we have here, understanding our needs, our research, our participants, our market selections, our segmenting, and our marketing mix decisions. The more information that we have, the better information we have, then the better our decisions will be. During this semester, we're going to look at 3 different components, 3 different areas. First is the planning stage, our research stage, understanding our consumers, spectators, participants, collecting our information for segmenting markets, choosing the audience. That is a lot of research. That's the first stage that we go through. Then we look at the implementation stage, finding those tactics. Once we know our target audience, what's the best way for us to reach them? And by best, it may be most effective, cheapest, something we ordinarily do. How do we use those product, price, place, promotion, and public relations, those tools, those ingredients? How do we present our communication? And finally, during the semester, we're going to look at the control phase. How do we evaluate the program? How do we decide what we're doing is right? And do we need to change it? And here's another link for strategy to hopefully flesh in this a little bit more. I hope you get a lot out of this Chapter 2 review. Thank you.